Welcome everyone to the fourth annual VCARA Conference, and we are all about digital objects and curation tonight, and that includes records. So our very first speaker is Jason Kaltenbacher. He has an MA. He is an adjunct professor in the School of Library and Information Science.
In our ever-changing and unpredictable economy, distinguishing ourselves as innovative experts with deep awareness of technology's records-related capabilities has never been more valuable. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. What I'd like to do is introduce you to some records management fundamentals and the role of archival records in an active records environment, as well as identify the advantageous position SLIS graduates can find themselves in when entering the records management profession and working with electronic records. SLIS-educated records managers and archivists have a powerful opportunity to brand themselves as holistic custodians to the entire record-keeping process, emphasizing the usefulness as well as the risks that technology offers. Furthermore, for those of us holding archival records at heart, while the digital format for archival material certainly does produce a different type of archival collection and professional practice for preservation, the digital format has also redefined how and why records are being kept in both a business setting as well as for historical purposes. Of increasing concern is the identification and capture of archival records in the digital environment. Through a SLIS lens, records managers can adopt archival interpretations by ensuring that they capture electronic records of long-term intrinsic value. By identifying archival and/or long-term records early in their development, the SLIS records manager is empowered to distinguish themselves from amongst their colleagues through the depth of their informed decisions. Records managers and archivists still work with paper records, and the fundamentals remain when negotiating electronic records and information. However, the production of digital content continues to grow at incredibly fast rates, and our management efforts are far more than a Word document being printed out and filed. So as we master the long-term retention management of a social media post or geospatial file, it's quite likely that we'll be continuously presented with new record formats that present issues that we're not yet facing today. Archival records are reborn within an entirely new context and purpose, and their identification and subsequent preservation requires significant intentionality. While the retention of these records by the records manager is necessary while the records are active, their long-term management following business use is normally the responsibility of an archivist. I'm quite convinced that SLIS graduates have the power to blur these lines, and as students have routinely noted in my classes, in practice new records producing technology has made the distinction between records management and archival accessioning much more narrow than the lifecycle model would suggest. SLIS records managers are archivists, and they have the knowledge and capability to be involved in the early stages of records creation in order to appraise historically valuable electronic records, and then being able to manage them with necessary awareness.
Valerie is from Louisville ISD and Texas Women's University. She's a teacher librarian and an adjunct instructor. Her research focus is virtual world librarianship, and her interests include content creation, curation, dissemination in virtual world environments, and digital information literacy. She is a national writing trainer, serves as convener for the ACRL Virtual World Interest Group, and is past president of Beta Phi Mu Beta Lambda Chapter.
You can see on my first slide a background photo taken in a virtual world that simulates Amsterdam during World War II. This is a setting for an immersive learning experience, the Anne Frank MOOC. My topic today is immersive learning through simulations and 3D exhibits, as well as through MOOCs. More on that later as I discuss Massive Open Online Courses, or MOOCs, which was really a hot topic over the past year. In the fall of 2012, we shared an exhibit based on the work of the University of Washington's Certificate in Virtual Worlds graduates of 2012. This museum was designed to take the participant through the history of media and all its formats, from cave dwellings through radio and TV and into the future. As I mentioned, each of these exhibits were on display for several months, and for each, 2 live tours were scheduled. Our role as librarians was to provide an exhibit area, schedule the live tours, and guide participants alongside the builders, who were able to showcase their work to a wider audience, since we publicized the events. Now let's discuss Moocs, another current hot topic. In February, I led a panel on Moocs and Librarians as leader of the Association of College and Research Librarians Virtual World Interest Group. Massive Open Online Courses, or Moocs, have been hugely popular over the past year. The panelists in the Virtual World MOOC panel discussion were librarians and a professor of astronomy at Caltech. This exploration of Moocs through use of a virtual world utilized the knowledge and skills I had been gathering for the past few years to learn on a global scale about an emerging topic. Librarians gathered from around the globe to discuss Moocs and the impact of libraries and education, to discuss the future role of librarians as education rapidly evolves in the digital age. 3D simulation, I have learned, can address the past, the present, and the future. Virtual worlds bring together multimedia across time and space in a more intimate way than many other formats, including augmented reality, when the participant is immersed, not simply viewing while they are doing something else. As I speak to you all right now in a virtual world, we really can't predict what media formats will rise in popularity as digital participatory culture continues to advance. But virtual world library exhibits, 3D museums, immersive learning, and Moocs are currently an intriguing road for educators and librarians as we strive toward a balance of tradition and innovation.
Okay, so looking at metadata in digital collections, I find can be a relatively dull experience. So tonight I'm going to talk about how I used ViewShare to enhance a collection called the Mercury Studio Collection in the Illinois Digital Archives.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Greg Gardner. I'm a library science student at Santa Fe State. I'm also a volunteer at a local art and history museum, working in the archives there. I'll be talking tonight on small institutions, lone arrangers, and online finding aids.
I'm Marcia Meister, and I'm a librarian in the Humanities, Social Science, and Government Information Service Department at the UC Davis Library. And I'm talking today about the web archiving service developed by the California Digital Library and used by at least 21 partner libraries and institutions in California and nationally to preserve born digital websites. For those of you who don't know, the California Digital Library, or CDL, represents the cooperative digital library initiatives of the 10 campus libraries of the UC system. It's a unit within the University of California Office of the President, and CDL works collaboratively with all of the UC libraries to develop services for digital curation, scholarly publishing, and archiving and preservation activities that support research throughout its information life cycle.
So my topic is the preservation of social media. In the past decade, the ways in which people record their personal history has changed. Journals are becoming blogs and personal websites, scrapbooks, social network feeds, and albums. No longer are our personal histories being set down in tangible ways. Digital information is quickly changing, and often new records replace old entries as a matter of saving space. This practice is eliminating the history of information creation. Many agencies are working to preserve the history of the Internet, but as of now, these tools fail to encapsulate all that is needed to be preserved. The ephemeral quality of these new means of record keeping are a concern. Social network information is a complex accumulation of texts, images, videos, and links. These pieces are an important part of the context of this information.
The internet has become so prominent that it's appropriate to bring up sociologist Ray Oldenburg. His concept of the third place refers to a place in society that is neither home nor work. The third place stands apart from the demands we all face in our everyday duties and relationships. Conversation flows naturally, creating community amongst participants. I argue that for some people, specific online destinations are legitimate third places. 245 million Americans use the internet, and 98% of them use it at least once a day. I believe regardless of where someone is physically, if that person engages in conversation and feels part of an online community, a virtual space can be his or her third place. So in just a short amount of time, the internet has rapidly changed and gone beyond the possibilities we saw before. All users are potential creators now, empowered by Web 2.0 to imagine, create, edit, collaborate, and share.
I mean, you only got one, and you couldn't give them away or copy them or anything like that. Now there's the factory, which works, and it used to be you had to get one for ThinkBook and you had to get one for IntelliBook, but now the Book Factory will do both. And then this one is, this is kind of, I have a friend here in Second Life that wrote this story, and he gave it to me as a Word document. I created the textures and added the artwork and turned it into a book. And it has, if you go back to the title page, it has copyrights, that's there. And he is sending it in to receive the actual copyright as a book. So it's a case where a virtual book will become a real book. And I'm not sure how often that's happened.